All right, for this lesson, we are going to be kind of blending what we did last chapter with what we're doing this chapter. So last chapter, we worked with ratios and proportions, and obviously this chapter, we're working with percents. And today, we're going to put those together. You have your whiteboards. When I ask you a specific question to do on the whiteboard, like always, I want you to write the question answer on the board, flip it over, so that I can see when you guys each have them, and then we'll move forward. If I ask you a specific question, raise your hand, I'll call on one of you, and we will move forward from there. Solving percents problems using proportions. Some of this we've already done. We did it when we were talking about changing fractions to percents, right? And we used proportions to do that, and we'll kind of review that a little bit right here. First of all, thinking of, we use ratios, we're talking ratios and we're talking proportions. Thinking in those lines, what's the definition of a percent? Does anybody know what the definition of a percent is?
Part of a whole.
It's a part of a whole. That's definitely one part of the definition. Thinking about a ratio? Not sure? Does this kind of jog your memory? A ratio that compares a number to 100, or a comparison of any number to 100, right? Sound a little familiar? Yeah. If you have two ratios, so you have one ratio here and you have another ratio here, and they're equal, what do those form? They would be equivalent fractions, absolutely. And what do you call two equivalent fractions when you're talking about ratios? Dig deep. It's in there. Let's go back here. Any clues here?
Percent.
Not percents, not percents. Proportions. Absolutely. Alright, so when you have two equal fractions, and those fractions represent ratios, and they have an equal sign in the middle, that's called a proportion, alright? And that's what we're going to be working with today. This is what we did one section ago. Alright, and this is one way where we've already used proportions to find percentages. And we did that when we were talking about changing decimals to percents, and decimals to fractions, and fractions to percents. And when we were talking specifically about changing fractions to percents, I told you the easiest possible way to do that is to look at the denominator and think, is that compatible with 100? Alright? And if it is, then you're going to use a proportion. You're going to form a proportion to find your percent. So, first of all, is 20 compatible with 100?
Yes.
Absolutely. So who can tell me what you would multiply 20 by to get 100? Talina? 5. Absolutely. So if I multiply 20 by 5, I get 100. If I do that on the bottom, 20 times 5 equals 100, what do I need to multiply 4 by to get x? Susan?
Multiply by 5.
Absolutely. You need to multiply it by the same thing. So 20 times 5 equals your 100. 4 times 5 equals x. What does x equal?
20.
20. Perfect. X equals 20. Alright? Now, you have a proportion. You have this equivalency, which is what you said a proportion is, and it is. It's an equivalency. And on this side of it, you have a ratio of a number to 100. And like we said to start with, the definition of a percent is a ratio of a number to 100. So, 20 out of 100 equals 20%. Okay? That means 4/20 equals 20%. Okay? And we did that solving it using proportions, which is what we've already done. You know, we've done this as kind of a review. 22 out of 25. Is 25 compatible with 100?
Yes. No.
We have a couple of yeses and a couple of no's. Somebody that says yes. Marco, what would you multiply 25 by to get 100? 4. Absolutely. Alright? So, that being said, the yeses were definitely correct in this case. So if I multiply the bottom, 25 by 4, to get 100, Maria, what do I need to multiply the top by? Absolutely, the same thing. Okay? So I get 25 times 4 equals 100, 22 times 4 equals x. On your boards, figure out what 22 times 4 is. Put the answer. You can just write the answer on your board, flip it over when you know it. Alright. Everybody's got it. Everybody's got it. Perfect. And they all had it right? And it's 88. Alright? So x equals 88. This fraction equals this fraction. This ratio is a number being compared to 100. And by definition, a number being compared to 100 is a percent. So this is 88%. So 22 25ths equals 88%. And when you're changing a fraction to a percentage, the easiest thing to first look for is look at the denominator. Is it compatible with 100? So one more example. 3/5. We look at the denominator. 5. Is 5 compatible with 100?
Yeah, so 20.
Times 20, absolutely. So 5 times 20 equals 100. So that being said, tell me what do I need to multiply 3 by?
20.
Absolutely, the same thing. All right, 5 times 20 equals 100. 3 times 20 equals x. What does x equal, Susan?
60.
60. X equals 60. 60 being compared to 100 is, by definition, a percent. All right. So when you're changing a fraction to a percent, the easiest way is first to look and see if it's compatible with 100, and if it is, you're setting up a proportion. All right. And like I said, today we were talking about finding percents using proportions. So it's nothing new. It's something we've already done when we were talking about finding percents equal to fractions. We are going to apply it slightly different as we move forward. We're going to apply it into real life situations because that's where you usually see percentages. Like I said, every time you take a test, you want to know what your percent is on top. All right? So you see percentages all the time. When you go to a store and there's discounts, you're talking about percentages. Pretty boring slide, huh? It doesn't look easy. These are some of the easiest questions though, but they are important. Whoa. Super easy question. Who can tell me how much pizza you have eaten if you've eaten 100% of a pizza?
One pizza.
One pizza. One whole pizza. The whole thing. You didn't eat part of it, you ate the whole thing, right? Absolutely. And these seem real easy questions, but they are extremely important. They're at the base of everything that has to do with percentages. If you've eaten 25% of a pizza, have you eaten the whole pizza, or have you eaten part of the pizza? Part of the pizza. Absolutely. So, the importance here is that 100%, when you're talking about percentages, 100% always means the whole. Anything less than 100% always means the part. So when you're talking about percentages, it's always going to be a number, such as we have 88% for one of our things. 88 is part of the whole, 100. 100% is always on the bottom, and your part is always being compared to your whole. Okay? Once again, extremely simple, but extremely important as we move forward. Real life situation, all right? In a survey of 200 students here at Mazeplan School, 160 said that 7th grade was their favorite grade in school. You think this is true?
Yes.
Well, I don't know about the numbers, I kind of made it up, but I'm sure 7th grade is the best grade in school. In this problem though, this is a real life problem, and we have a group of students, 200 students, and we have 160 of those students. Which number represents the whole, the 200 or the 160? Susan? 200, absolutely. That's the correct answer sound. If we had said 160 and got it wrong, which we never would, it would sound kind of like that. But we got it right. 200. 200 is our whole, all right? When we're talking about this situation, okay? When we looked at those proportions, when we were talking fraction to percent, we always have the percent on the right side, right? That's how we're always going to set up our proportion, all right? Our percent is always going to be on the right side. And as we move forward, we were talking about fractions. Now we're talking about real life situations. So the real world is going to be on this side. The same thing is going to be true, though, that the part is always going to be on the top and the whole is always going to be on the bottom. It doesn't matter if you're in the real world or you're in a percentage. As long as you follow those rules, your proportion will always get set up correctly. Okay? So we have our real world numbers right here, 200 and 160. We have something we want to find out. We want to find out what percentage of 200 is 160. All right? That's our goal. And the way we're going to do that is we're going to put these numbers in the right place. So all of you, this is the real world. You all told me that the whole was represented by 200, right? So when we set this proportion up, we're going to bring the 200 there. In the real world, what number represents the part? Talina? 160. It's right there. All right? Absolutely. Right there. In any time you're talking about a percentage, what represents the whole?
100.
100. Perfect. And then obviously what we're trying to figure out is what percent of 200 is 160.